Who's going to stop these guys? Seriously, who's going to do it? Liverpool take care of business against the reigning European champions, Real Madrid. 2-0. But I don't think that tells the story. Genuinely, I don't think that's an accurate description of how this game kind of went down. First of all, from a neutral point of view, I actually really enjoyed it, especially the first half. The second half, to be honest with you, I think it started really getting out of Real Madrid's hands, and I think Liverpool were so dominant in that second half. But in the first half, I actually really enjoyed the pace of the game. I thought Anfield was absolutely bouncing, and just listening to it from my computer, I honestly enjoyed the tempo, the energy, the bite that both sides kind of displayed. Real Madrid obviously came into this game a bit weakened, right? Militao out for the season, Vinicius out for a few weeks, Rodrigo out for a few weeks, Tchouaméni out for a few weeks, Carvajal out for the season. It's a depleted Real Madrid team, but it's also a Real Madrid team that, if we're being honest here, haven't really been at their absolute best, in which we kind of recognize them all season long, right? They're near the top of La Liga for reasons that are really beyond me. I don't think they've played that well in that many games this season. And you might say, for the most part, Real Madrid typically don't really play that well, but this season doesn't feel the same as previous ones, where they have that air of inevitability that even when they don't play well, you kind of expect them to get performances in the big games. This season, for the most part, I have to be honest with you guys, bar the game against Dortmund, every big game that they've played in, they've been outplayed in, and they've deservedly lost. Tonight, in my opinion, is absolutely no different. There's a few performances from either side that I want to kind of speak on, for both Liverpool, for both Real Madrid. Let's start with Liverpool though, huh? These guys don't stop. These guys do not stop. And I have to look at this game in particular, right, as, for me, a game that perfectly encapsulates what Arne Slot's side is about and what Liverpool, to be honest with you, are all about. Because for me, the player of the season in the Premier League, and arguably the most informed player in world football, Mohamed Salah, I thought arguably had his quietest game of the season. Guys, I'll be real. I'll be real. For all the praise that I've given him and all the praise that he's deservedly got, I thought he was quiet today. Honestly, I didn't think he had his loudest game. He had one moment, really. Like, it's not that he played a horrible game, but for the most part, I just didn't think he was that effective. Bar one moment, right, where he gets the ball 1v1 against Ferland Mendy, and he absolutely twists him in and out. And the penalty, the less said the better. I don't know what that technique is. I know Salah tends to go kind of laces. He tends to go for power, but that was some weird penalty, right? But throughout the game, I didn't think he was that great. But this Liverpool team is showing that, yes, in terms of scoring goals, typically he's contributed 67% of their goals through his goals and assists, but they can still beat you in other ways. And today, there's a few performances such as McAllister in midfield, Gravenberch again, Connor Bradley at right back, Van Dijk. Oh my God. No, I need to start with Van Dijk. That's who I need to start with. Wow. We know Van Dijk's the best center back on the planet for the last, 6 years now, right? And we know he's one of the greats of the modern game. But it's performances like this in the Champions League at Anfield against Real Madrid, where ultimately, like it or not, you can play amazing for so many games. But especially, we know in the Champions League, right? Sometimes people make their own minds up on one knockout game. These are the games where Van Dijk just reiterates why he's number one. Numero uno, the best. So dominant. But so dominant in such a nonchalant, almost like arrogant way, right? Like, Van Dijk just sweeps up danger, almost like he's offended by it. Like, is this what you guys are trying to attack me with? Allow me. Get that shit out of here. Let's keep playing. His passing tonight on full display. Long range, switches to either wing. In the air, as always, so aerially dominant. Van Dijk is just an absolute joke, man. But at right back, Connor Bradley. Up against Kylian Mbappe, who we will speak about, as you know. Took care of business. Locked him up. Connor Bradley locked up Kylian Mbappe tonight. There was an incident, right, in the first half, where Connor Bradley must have covered about 40 yards to close down Kylian Mbappe and emphatically shut him down. And the whole stadium just erupts. And I saw a tweet that I really liked on Twitter today, basically saying, look, you can have all the skill and all the athleticism and all the goals, but what Connor Bradley just did against Kylian Mbappe is what's going to make Anfield fall in love with a player. And I hear it for the most part, right? Like, Connor Bradley is actually a really good right back for me. I think he's to have him as your backup right back at any club would be such a luxury. To have him for Trent, such a great deputy. But yeah, honestly, I know he's not the greatest right back, right? He's not Trent. That's basically what I'm trying to say here. But wow, what a performance. Kelleher in goal. Again, a deputy for Alisson. Not easy to be a deputy, but Kelleher proves every single time he's called upon that he's very, very reliable. And the penalty save on Kylian Mbappe is yet another save in his repertoire of big game penalty saves. He's shown you in Carabao Cup finals, now in Champions Leagues, he can kind of fill in the boots. And if a team is in the next 12 months looking for a new number one. Similar to what Lunin did for Real Madrid last season. Kelleher shows me every single time he's called upon for Liverpool that, yeah, he can be the number one for most good teams in world football. Brilliant performance. But if we move on to Real Madrid here, right? Again, we know the injuries that they have. We know it. There's no point in like harping about how bad Real Madrid have been, because this is not the game to really take massive takeaways from, because like I said, Vinicius, who for me is their best player, out. Rodrigo, out. Tchouaméni, out. Valverde playing at right back for the injured Carvajal. We know what that's about. One guy I want to give a big shout out to is Asensio. I think I'm saying his name right. Asensio, the young center back from La Castilla that came in to basically replace Militao while Alaba continues his recovery. He's played a few games now. And yes, he's on the losing side, but I think Asensio played a terrific game today. And I think it's always interesting whenever we see Castilla players make the step up to the first team, because Real Madrid are the greatest institution in football. But contrary to their city rivals, or to their Spanish rivals, in Barcelona, they've never been a team that really produce and elevate to their first team world-class academy players. They have a few here and there, but let's be real. Their mantra is Galacticos. So it is always interesting for me when we get a Marco Asensio or now a Raul Asensio or a Lucas Vazquez, a Nacho Fernandez, which ones really kind of look up to the level. And although I wouldn't call Asensio Pau Cubarsí level, who has come into Barca and just looks untouchable, I think I've been impressed by the cameos that he's had. I thought today, look, amongst a really average Real Madrid performance, he was one of the better players. His recovery pace looks really, really good. Very decent passer. Courageous, brave, knows what it means to kind of play for Real Madrid. I was a fan of his performance. Camavinga, I was a fan of his performance before he kind of went off injured. Who I wasn't a fan of his performance, and it's becoming quite a reoccurrence now, is Kylian Mbappe. Bro, you guys ever watch Space Jam? Or even better, you guys ever watch that movie with Kevin Durant and the little kid, and like they exchange powers? Or even better, that Cristiano Ronaldo ad where him and the guy, that one kid, they exchange abilities. I feel like that's what's happened with Kylian Mbappe in the last 2 years. This ain't it, man. This ain't it. He doesn't even look right in that Real Madrid kit. Can we first of all say that? Like, he looks like an imposter playing in that white shirt. It doesn't look like Kylian Mbappe. It doesn't look right. It seriously doesn't. Like, I'm looking at him and I'm like, you look like you're playing in like a testimonial game for Real Madrid right now. It doesn't look like you are a Real Madrid player. And to be honest with you, Chad, I get the impression that in his performances, he himself is not playing like Kylian Mbappe. Like, he himself doesn't even feel like Kylian Mbappe. Let me say this, right? We always talk about the intricacies of the game, the tactics, the abilities, 1000%. But I think people always kind of downplay narrative and downplay storylines as well too. I think Mbappe, and I have no proof to say this, but this is the vibe I'm getting from his press conferences, from his announcement, from like the what's it called, the presentation from the fans, from his performances. I feel like Mbappe came to Real Madrid almost like starstruck and thankful that Real Madrid have taken me away from Paris and have given me this great opportunity to play for this amazing club, and I'm going to be playing with these amazing players. He kept saying that, like, I get to play with this amazing coach and these amazing players, and he's right. He's not wrong when he says that, but he almost sounded like he's a squad player joining Real Madrid. Like when Dani Ceballos came back to Real Madrid from loan, or Joselu came back. Bro, you're Kylian Mbappe. You're supposed to be arguably the best player in the world. We saw you put on one of the greatest big game performances in that World Cup final, and you're coming to Real Madrid almost like just happy to be around. That's the vibe I'm getting, honestly. It feels like he's almost overwhelmed by the situation that he's in. And I'm sorry, the greats don't do that. Cristiano Ronaldo, when he came to Real Madrid, first of all, he was younger than Kylian Mbappe. And yes, he had won the Champions League, he'd won the Ballon d'Or, I get that. But he came to Real Madrid, and he was surrounded by Kaká, Raul, who else was at the club those days? Xabi Alonso had just joined, Benzema, Higuaín, Sergio Ramos, Iker Casillas, Guti. Great team, huge, like massive players. But he came in, and he was the man from the start. Ronaldo's first season at Real Madrid is very, very underrated, 09-10. I know he didn't win the league. They finished with like 97 points or something like that. They didn't win the Champions League, but he had a very good individual season. He balled out, and he looked like Ronaldo. He looked like whenever he wanted to get the ball, he wanted to make things happen. He was aggressive, he was fast, he was direct. Mbappe, man, I'm watching him these days, right? And it's like, since this is from last season, right? But this is carried on to this year. From last season of PSG to the Euros to now. The directness, the hunger, the impetus, and the willingness to just get on the ball and just rip his defender to shreds. Go to goal. Be a menace. I feel like that spark is gone. I said when they played Barcelona, my feeling of Mbappe these days is, at his absolute best in the Champions League, I always found myself almost leaning forward in my chair, like getting the hairs on my arms are starting to raise, because every time he gets the ball, you have the anticipation that something great is going to happen. Something's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to work out, but he's going to attempt something. I watch Mbappe these days, chat, seriously, and I sit back and I'm just like, I don't have that feeling anymore. The buzz for me is gone. The spark for me is gone. There's so many times where he squared up to Connor Bradley today, tried that little step over, dash left or dash right that he used to be incredible at, and Connor Bradley is just looking at him like, nah, I'm not really phased, man. Let me get that off you. He won the ball off him doing that like 4 or 5 times. There was one moment where Mbappe gets him with that move and then goes left and it goes out for a corner. Once. But Connor Bradley was comfortable against Mbappe today. Honestly, we look at Mbappe in these games because he has a name, he has a reputation, and we expect big things. But seriously, if someone was watching that performance today for the first time ever watching Mbappe, they didn't know this guy was supposed to be a world-class player, they'd look at him and say, when's Real Madrid going to take him off? He's been awful. And to be honest with you, he's lucky, A, that there's a lot of injuries, but he's also lucky that his name and the size of his transfer and the hype around him for the last 3 years is such that Ancelotti's not taking him off. But guys, these performances, for lack of a better word, are pathetic. They're pathetic, not even just for a great player. I'm not even holding him to great player standards. For anybody, these performances are average. Average. And then you take into account who he is. The penalty, honestly, right, is just the cherry on top. And seriously, did anybody actually think he was going to score that? Me personally, I looked at that penalty, I was like, nah, I don't feel good about him right now. I don't think he's going to score this. Even the way he's approaching his penalties, it doesn't feel like he believes it. So you have a player right now in Mbappe who, in my opinion, physically has declined. I don't think he's as fast and sharp as he used to be a few years ago. Whether that's bulking up, I don't know. I have no idea. Maybe he just looks stiffer, to be honest with you. He doesn't look as explosive off the mark. There's that. There's, for me, the mental side of things in which I almost feel like he came to this club on like, let me just try and mesh in with everybody. Let me try and gel in with Bellingham and Vinicius, and let me just be part of the team. And I'm not trying to say, oh, get the ball and like absolutely ruin all the chemistry, but bro, you have to come in here and show these guys as well too that, yeah, they're European champions, but I'm Kylian Mbappe. You guys are getting me as well as me getting you guys. I don't think that has ever been the vibe at Real Madrid so far, bro. I've almost felt like Mbappe just feels like he's joining them and he's lucky to join them and he has to fit in for them. I don't know, man. It's a very weird fit for me at the moment. And then for me, finally, right now, Mbappe's confidence is on the floor. Honestly, his confidence is rock bottom. And for a player that used to play with so much swagger and carried such an aura about him, it's a weird sight to see, man. It's a weird sight to see. The only thing I can remember close to what I'm seeing from Mbappe right now, and it's a different vibe, right? It's similar, but it's different because this guy had injuries. That's probably the biggest reason why he fell off so much. But it's Fernando Torres. Seeing Torres go from Liverpool, and I know the last season at Liverpool, he wasn't great, but still Torres, to then Chelsea, where A, the shirt didn't even look like it fit him, and B, his head was always down, his moves weren't coming off, he looked a touch off the pace, he couldn't score goals. Like, when he scores goals, they're almost charity goals, similar to Mbappe. It's a similar vibe at the moment. But like I said, Torres got injured. We know why Torres fell off. Mbappe, since that World Cup final, I'm telling you, man, it's never been the same feeling for me. And I'm not trying to make this a whole Mbappe thing, but it's hard not to. Because this is a player that for the longest time, I have heralded as the best player in the world. He's nowhere near that anymore, guys. Honestly, I don't know if people are waiting for me to tweet it or whatever, but it's like beating a dead horse at this point. Genuinely, I'm watching him and I feel for him. Because this ain't you, bro. This ain't you. By the way, I'm not getting off Jude Bellingham, man. Don't think Jude Bellingham is getting away with that. These performances as well too from Jude, right? I have some, I don't know, leeway for him earlier in the season because he had injuries, and then for me, he was the one sacrificing for Vinny and Mbappe, right? Because he was playing that almost like left-hand 10 role last season, advanced 8 off the left, and because Vinny and Mbappe are there and Rodrigo, he's had to play more of a defensive role. Like at the Clasico, bro, he was basically man-marking Alejandro Balde. But in a game like this, I'm sorry, don't give me any excuse of like, the role that he's playing or come on. Jude Bellingham's supposed to be a player that gets on the ball and just makes things happen. That's supposed to be Jude Bellingham. The touch is sloppy. He loves this little drag that he does, right? Jude Bellingham loves getting on the ball and like dragging it from foot to foot. And Jude's a brilliant player. I rate Jude Bellingham. But guys, when did we stop rating the best? When did we stop holding the best players in the world to standards of such? That's a poor performance from Jude Bellingham. Honestly, that's a performance where he got a lot of the ball. He was getting it in areas that he likes to pick it up in. He was able to make those runs in the box. It just wasn't effective. And I used to always say about the Champions League, and I still maintain it. The reason I love the Champions League so much is because I'm a fan of individuals rising and kind of performing at best player in the world standards. I always say the league is about management, it's about tactics, it's about consistency, staying fit. The Champions League for me is about the stars. It's about the best players in the world playing like that in knockout competition and leading their teams to glory. That's why I used to love Mbappe. That's why I love what Vinicius did last season. That's why Ronaldo and Messi are, for me, the greats. Like, I don't know. For me, Mbappe and Bellingham tonight it's pretty poor from both of them. And that's not me letting Salah off the hook either, but Salah's had an amazing season, right? I'm going to let Salah off the hook for tonight. I thought he was anonymous, but Mbappe and Bellingham, for me, were just straight up poor. Genuinely. But Liverpool, honestly, I don't want to make this a whole just like dig out Mbappe and Bellingham, right? Liverpool, it hurts me to say this because as you guys know, I'm a United fan, but I try and look at things from an objective point of view. It hurts me watching them play right now because they're fun, they're direct, they score goals, they keep teams out, and they win. They win. Top of the league, top of their Champions League group stage, scoring goals for fun, keeping teams out for fun, beating the best sides on the planet, their fans are in dreamland. And honestly, right, I know it's November entering December, but December time is about halfway through the season. So eventually we're going to have these uncomfortable conversations. What's stopping Liverpool from winning the Champions League and the league this season? Champions League is obviously a lot more difficult to predict because the best team doesn't always win the Champions League. We know that. Otherwise, City probably would have won it the last 6 years. The best team doesn't always win. Liverpool won it once under Klopp. They went to 3 finals. That's life. But I look around Europe right now, and I gotta be honest, it's the weakest for me that it's been in a while. And I used to always say that, but this year in particular, it's even weaker. Because City, for me, at the moment, are a non-factor. There's not even a point speaking about them right now. And Real Madrid, I know we always say Real Madrid, wait until March, wait until April, wait until May. That's when they kind of click. That's when they figure things out. But guys, Real Madrid don't win the Champions League every year. They win it a lot, but they don't win it every year. I don't think it's their year this year. So I look around Europe. Bayern, for me, are not a threat for the Champions League. I don't see it. I don't buy it. PSG, let's see if they can even qualify for the playoffs. Atletico Madrid, I don't see it. Inter, I think, have a special team in Europe. Inter, for me, are a team to watch out for. Because I think on their day, they can knock out anybody. Arsenal, I still have to be convinced in Europe, but you'd have to say they're up there. Barcelona, incredible. Although they've shown the last few weeks that there is a real reliance on Yamal. And then Liverpool. And for me, if I'm a Liverpool fan, if I'm Arne Slot, if I'm Salah, if I'm Van Dijk, I'm looking at every single team in Europe and saying, who's stopping us? Like, they could, but who am I really afraid of? I don't think there should be anybody. I think Liverpool can look at this competition this season and seriously think to themselves, yeah, we can win it. Why not? I look at the league and say, why can't they win it? They can. I mean, now I definitely think so, but I was saying that even before they were 9 points clear. Look at the team, look at the squad, look at the manager, look at the vibe, and look at the competition. It wouldn't shock me if they end the season with a double. It wouldn't shock me whatsoever. They keep marching on. Tonight, such an impressive performance. Everybody who continues harping about their schedule strength. After this weekend, when they play a City side on the cusp of 7 games without a win, which I expect them to win, they will have played City, Arsenal, Real Madrid, Manchester United, AC Milan, Bayer Leverkusen, Chelsea, and Aston Villa. They haven't lost a single one of them. When are you going to believe them, man? They're here. They're absolutely here.